The story begins in a busy downtown restaurant in New York City, one of those modern places with shiny glass windows. Soft jazz playing in the background, and people rushing in for their morning coffee or afternoon business lunch. Among the staff, working there was a young black woman named Amara Johnson. She was 26 years old, graceful, polite, and always wore a smile. Even when her shifts dragged on for 12 long hours, her life wasn't easy, but she carried herself with quiet dignity. Amara had grown up with just her mother. She never knew who her father was. All her childhood, she would ask her mother about him, but her mother always avoided the question. Sometimes she would say, "He's not important," or "Forget about him, Amara. He left us." But deep inside, Amara always felt a hole in her heart, a kind of emptiness that came from not knowing where she came from. Her mother, Lydia Johnson, had worked 2 jobs to raise her. She was a housekeeper in the mornings and a caregiver at night. She never remarried, never spoke about love again, and seemed to carry a secret that weighed heavily on her shoulders. Amara grew up watching her mother sacrifice everything. It made her strong, independent, but also curious. She wanted answers. One afternoon, during the busy lunch rush at the restaurant, a group of wealthy businessmen walked in. They wore expensive suits, the kind of suits Amara had only seen in magazines. Among them was a tall man with silver hair, sharp blue eyes, and the kind of presence that made everyone stop and notice him. He wasn't just rich, he carried himself like someone who owned half the city. His name was Richard Coleman, one of the wealthiest real estate billionaires in America. Amara recognized him immediately. Not because she had ever met him, but because his face was on the news all the time. Donations to charities, big real estate deals, photographs with politicians. He was the kind of man people admired, feared, and whispered about. But when Amara looked at him, something strange happened. She felt a shiver run down her spine. His face looked familiar. Too familiar. She shook her head and told herself she was imagining things. But the more she looked at him, the more her heart pounded. The shape of his jaw, the way he carried himself. Even his laugh, it was like looking into a mirror of the face she had imagined in her dreams. When she wondered about her father, she served the table politely, trying to calm her nerves. But when Richard Coleman looked at her and his eyes met hers, she noticed something flicker across his face: recognition, shock, maybe even guilt. He quickly masked it with a polite smile and went back to his business conversation. But Amara couldn't ignore it. The rest of the day she couldn't focus. The resemblance was undeniable. She remembered an old photograph she once found hidden. In her mother's drawer, a faded picture of her mother standing next to a younger man in a suit. She had never seen his face clearly because part of the picture was torn. But now, looking at Richard Coleman, she was certain. That missing man in the photoet had been him. That night, she went home and confronted her mother. "Mom," she said softly, holding her mother's hands, "I need you to tell me the truth. Who is my father?" Lydia froze. She looked away, tears filling her eyes. "Why now, Amara?" she whispered. "Because I think I met him today." At the restaurant, Richard Coleman. Her mother's hands trembled. She sat down slowly, as though her knees could no longer hold her. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Yes, he's your father." Amara felt her chest tighten. She had always suspected her father was someone powerful, someone her mother didn't want to talk about. But hearing his name confirmed was different. It was like a truth that changed her entire life. Her mother explained how. Years ago, she had worked as a secretary in one of Coleman's companies. They had fallen in love, but when she became pregnant, everything changed. Coleman's family, rich, powerful, and obsessed with reputation, pressured him to end the relationship. He left Lydia, choosing wealth and power over her and their unborn child. He never came back. "He knew?" Amara asked in disbelief. "He knew you were pregnant?" "Yes," Lydia whispered. "He knew." And he walked away. Amara's heart burned with anger. All those years of struggle, all the nights her mother worked 2 jobs, all the times they couldn't pay rent, while her father lived in luxury. owning skyscrapers and flying in private jets. The next day, Amara returned to the restaurant, and when Richard Coleman came in again with his group, she made a decision that would change everything. She walked straight up to his table, looked him in the eye, and with her voice shaking but strong, said, "You're my father." The room fell silent. The businessmen stared in shock. Coleman froze, his eyes widening. For a moment, the powerful billionaire seemed small, vulnerable, and utterly speechless. "What? What did you just say?" he stammered. "You heard me," Amara said firmly. "You're my father. My name is Amara Johnson. My mother is Lydia. Do you remember her? Because I remember her. She raised me alone while you turned your back on us." The restaurant was so quiet that even the sound of glasses clinking at another table felt loud. Coleman's face turned pale. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. His business partners looked at him, confused. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Coleman whispered, "Not here. Please, not like this." But Amara didn't back down. Years of pain came pouring out of her. "Do you know what it's like growing up without a father? Watching your mother struggle every day while you lived like a king? Do you know what it's like to wonder why you weren't good enough for him to stay?" Her voice cracked, but her eyes blazed with anger. Coleman sat there, his hands trembling. For the first time in his life, he couldn't control the situation. He couldn't buy his way out. Couldn't charm his way out. The truth had caught up to him. "I want nothing from you," Amara said coldly. "No money, no favors. I just wanted you to know that the daughter you abandoned grew up. She's standing right in front of you." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving him speechless, broken, exposed in front of everyone. But that wasn't the end.